Ignite to Impact.
Welcome to the Ignite to Impact podcast, bringing you people who transform careers, entrepreneurial paths, and communities. We call them leaders, people who are influencers, who create life-changing opportunities in business and in life, for others and for themselves, people who inspire and teach us by example. I'm Dr. Geneva, your host, and thank you for being here with me in the voiceover production studios of Michigan's legendary Gerald McBride. Ignite to Impact is all about being influential and using your influence to make positive differences in your career, community, and in yourself. Our guests come from all walks of life, but with one thing in common that they have. They've learned how to unleash their influence for impact in whatever they do. These leaders make things better than they found them for people now and for generations to come. And they're here to share their stories and secrets. And I have I'm just so delighted. I look so much forward. Well, I enjoy talking to everyone I have on my podcast. And then there's the times when I'm especially excited, and this is one of them, because I have met this fabulous leader who's on, who I'm just going to bring right on by saying that she's a certified professional coach, speaker, and trainer, but much more than all that. We were in Texas together, spent a few days learning a whole bunch of stuff about ourselves and how to be better, great, empowered women. So I have in studio today with me Alycia Huston, and she's the founder and CEO of a multi-million-dollar business, and she's going to tell you all about that, her mission, her passion in life, and she's just phenomenal, and I'm just so glad you're here with me today. Hi, Alycia. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you. I was just getting excited hearing what just all this podcast, this yumminess, this juiciness that you're creating in the world. It just really got me excited to be an honor to be a part of this. This is phenomenal. Thank you for having me.
Well, I love it. And I know when we were in Texas, we spent a lot of time together learning so much. But one of the things that I guess I was just always intrigued with you and your story was your approach to leadership. And it's really interesting because it's based on science, and it's based on your passion for science. So share that with our listeners.
Absolutely. So my undergrad is in biology, and I always had this vision. I was going to be a physician. I was going to change the world through medicine. I was going to heal people through medicine, because I always knew from a young age that my purpose here on this earth was to be a healer. And so I believed it was through becoming a physician. And so I went through college, and then I actually have been a research scientist. After that, I was a research scientist. So I went into research, and I was in a lab, and that just really didn't get my spirit, because I am a connector. I enjoy conversating and connecting with people. So I said, okay, what is the next step? And with that, I was just kind of, to fast forward a bit, thrust into the world of clinical research. So clinical research, that deals with companies such as Pfizer, J&J, all of those companies that are looking for new drugs, new technologies to heal certain things in this world. And so I co-founded a business in 2004 and was CEO of that business, scaled that business, and actually sold that business. And so in that time, I I learned so many things about myself. I learned about how my STEM background, my science background, was so relevant in what we're doing today. And that was when I launched my current business about 3 years ago. And it is in the realm of leadership, but it is leadership from the lens of through the lens of the brain, I will say. So, there are many, many leadership principles that we operate in our businesses, and we see some people just seem to have it. They seem to get it. And what I learned is that when we use brain science and we look at leadership through the lens of the brain, we can elevate our understanding and our results to a different level. And that's because, our brain is the most highest creation of technology ever created. Mm-hmm. So why would we not want to understand our brain a bit more mm-hmm. so we can operate at our peak optimal potential? Mm-hmm. And so that's just what I found, that when I really began to marry my passion for leadership and my passion for science, it is just opening this realm of unlimited possibility. Mm-hmm. And so what I say is, sometimes it is just not the path that you think it's going to be. For what is really for you. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So this idea of so let's explore this idea a little bit and how it works. So so what your approach is, that by learning how the brain function, learning more about the brain allows us to, unleash our performance.
Yes.
Is that the idea?
That's correct. So let me give you an example.
Yes.
Your brain weighs about 3 pounds, but it uses 20% of your body's energy. That's a lot.
Okay.
That's only 80% left for the rest of your body, but your brain uses 20% of that. So in knowing just even that lovely fact, we know why it's so important to keep ourselves vital, to give ourselves healthy food, and to really get our bodies moving, because as our brain utilizes that energy, that 20%, when we get into a space of vitality, our brain actually expands. We increase blood flow, and what that does is increases creativity, increases confidence, increases connection, all of that. And so even in your brain, there's a part called the prefrontal cortex, your PFC, and that is the CEO of your brain. And CEOs of any company operate in high emotional intelligence, high self-awareness, operate in execution and action. So this CEO, you always want it to be on point. And then we talk about ways to keep it on point and functioning at its highest peak performance so that you can operate within your genius at a high level of efficiency. So so I talk about, because of my background, because I do have business acumen, I have been a CEO before, I do understand experiences, I do understand the bottom line, I do understand productivity and operations for a company. All of these components become married together as you begin to see how you can show up, because it first begins with self, right? We are the leaders.
Yes.
So it begins with self-awareness, self-mastery, self-honoring, self-accountability. So it begins with all of those components. And then as we step into that powerfully and authentically, people are magnetized to us. They want to follow because they realize that you are so clear and aligned that they're like, I want to be a part of your mission. I buy into your initiatives. Let's do this. And so mastering yourself really comes with an understanding of who you are. And the brain offers that component, that lens, that insight into you connecting even at a deeper level, not just with yourself, but with others, your community, your coworkers, your personal relationships. All of those things are a beautiful byproduct of you understanding who you are at a deeper level.
And so, Alycia, how do we get to know our brain?
That's a beautiful thing. Well, first of all, you can call me and have me come on in and give you a little training.
All right, I hear that. And so we're going to stop right here. And how would people get in touch with you for that?
I love it. So my name is how you can find me on everything, the website, everything. It is Alycia, Alycia, Huston, Huston, and that is across Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and my website. Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. Mm-hmm. All right. Yes. So that's step number one.
Yes. And then step number two, really, the first thing I would say that people discount just so many things that science has proven. Like, they discount the benefit of meditation. Science has proven that it actually increases the gray matter in your brain and increases the corpus callosum. That is the line that connects the two left and right hemisphere in your brain, so that information can travel more efficiently across the left and right brain. So I would say one of the very first things that, and like I said, people have think, oh, it's fluffy. Meditation is not fluffy. Meditation allows you to take your prefrontal cortex offline and rest it as you sit in a state of silence. And so I would challenge you to understand that creativity and answers to problems that you are trying to work at finding come in the silence. They come in the quiet. When you allow your brain to just go offline in meditation, in prayer, in walking in nature, your brain is allowed to come offline. And next thing you know, you're like, oh, my goodness, that's the answer. You know, it just comes to you because you're not trying. The brain is allowed to function at its highest level, how it was created, not with you pushing. So that is one thing I would say. Another thing, a lot of us do not value sleep anymore. You know, we have these computers, we have these phones, we have everything right there, and we operate in a state of busyness. Our bodies were not created for all of this stimulation. We are not physiologically put together for all of this. Your body must rest, because in the rest comes the cells, I call them the janitorial cells, that clean up while you're asleep. They clean up old, dead brain cells. They clean up things that do not serve you. They're called clia cells. And they come in, see, clia, clean up. They come in and they clean up while you're asleep. And if you are not getting yourself at least six hours of sleep a night, and that's pushing it, you are not allowing, and I mean good sleep, not just like laying down. You are not allowing your brain to operate at its highest potential. There was a study done, and they deprived CEOs. They took a control group that rested, and then they kept a group of CEOs up for 24 hours, and they tested them to see, if there really was, quote, something, something to this sleep thing. Do you know that like 95% of the CEOs were making silly errors, just silly errors, because they were sleep deprived. And so that is something that is very real. It's proven by science. We've seen it with imaging, brain imaging. When you're asleep, how the brain it's actually online, but you're asleep, see? And so the brain is actually doing everything it needs to do in your sleep time. And that's why it's so important to allow your brain the opportunity to support you at your best.
I love it. I am a big proponent of sleep.
Yes.
People tease me, but my friends know, about around 8-ish. I'm getting sleepy because I'm getting ready to get into bed.
That's right.
And and then I have a sleep app that that I have on my phone and then on my watch that gives me, that tells me about my sleep. Just as you were saying, just don't lay down or, but there are different levels of sleep.
Yes,
and I assume, Alycia, the deeper level of sleep gives your brain even more rest.
Yes, the REM sleep.
Yes, the REM,
absolutely gives your brain more rest, and it takes you into a state of just, like you're saying, just really your body truly being at rest and rejuvenation. And that's the space that you want to be in, because you're right. Many of us, there's some type of badge of honor for, I only got 3 hours last night.
I know.
Isn't that ridiculous? That's what we have created in this society.
Yes.
Not understanding and valuing that everything we're seeking comes in the body resting.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes we want to be so all that. I mean, we want to be, I've got 10,000 emails I have to respond to, or I got 12 calls and I've got to go here and I've got to go there. Like that's something really to be proud of or to celebrate, but really what it seems to be doing to your body. And now what you're saying, what it is doing to our ability to execute as high-performing leaders.
Yes. And do you know that there was a study in Inc. magazine that said, it was done out of, it was Scranton University, that 92% of people do not achieve their goals. And they credit a lot of that to, first of all, a lack of commitment. But what they're also finding is that people they're not resting. They don't have the energy. They don't have the vitality. They don't have the vigor to really execute on their goals. That was one of the findings, of course, of many. But that was one of the findings, that people absolutely don't actually have the energy to execute on them. That was really powerful when I read that.
Yes, that is.
I said, wow. And so that's just a testament, once again, an illustration to how we are actually counterproductive in supporting our bodies and supporting the dreams and the gifts that we have, and in bringing them forth in this world. We are doing things that are actually not allowing that to happen, And so we have to be aware. We have to support all of the amazing things that have been instilled within us to the best of our ability, and realize we were not built this way. We weren't built to have smartphones in our faces 24 hours a day. It's just not, our brains can't even operate on that level because they're not wired that way. It's just not.
Well, listen here, girl. Now, how did you manage to connect the work that you were doing in STEM, science and technology, and all of that with this? I think it's just such an incredible, insightful take on leadership.
Thank you.
How'd you make that connection?
I love it. So, I have, like I said, I've always loved science, and I've just continued always, even after graduation, and even in my business, like I said, clinical research. So I was around, studies with Alzheimer's and dementia and depression and things like that, amongst other things. And then an opportunity. See, this is what I said when you just kind of are asking and seeking. An opportunity became clear to me, and it was called the Optimine Institute, and it's about for Neuroleadership, so neuro, brain, leadership, and neuro coaching certification. And this opportunity came across my desk, my email, and I was like, So I looked into it, and it was just so beautiful, because as I read more about this Optimine Institute and the certification in in neuro leadership from the brain, the lens of the brain, it clicked for me, Dr. G. That's when it clicked. I said, this is perfect. And so I was able to, it was beautiful because, we had to do research papers, look at clinical research, all of that, and that was a part of my life. So it was really resonant with me. And so in this certification, so it just really brought it all together through the lens of the brain, how we operate at peak performance, physically and mentally. So all of it, in our relationships, in our connections, and that's what business is. It's about relationships, because we do business with people. We work with people. And so why would we not want to know how to optimize that within ourselves, so that we can also optimize those relationships and productivity and, the bottom line, and our operations and all of those things. So it just was it was just pretty much synchronicity how that came to me, and it just was beautiful flowing into being. So it wasn't really, so that's a great question. It wasn't really that I knew, but it came to me. That's what happens when you trust.
Yeah, and trust and right, and when you live in your purpose, your gift.
Yes. 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 Oh, I love that. Yes.
Oh, it's just so there is this whole body of work around neuroleadership. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
You did.
Okay.
You did.
And
Neuroleadership.
Neuroleadership, and that's again through the lens of the brain and how it can give you that opportunity, that ability to tap into optimal performance.
Yes. So in this program, there were therapists.
Okay.
There were PhDs. I mean, there are a variety of other consultants in other areas. There were people who are counselors. There are people who were community workers. I mean, this program just carries a variety of people, and I mean from all over the world, truly global, that are stepping into this body of work. And I'm so excited because I'm actually going to be speaking at one of their upcoming events, and so I'm very excited for what they're doing and what's going on with them and how they're growing. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful. Yes.
And so you've taken now this training and specialization that you now have in this field of neuroleadership, and you're using it for as a coach. You're a certified coach and speaker and trainer. So how's that working for you?
You know what? It is working beautifully, and I'm not going to lie. At first, I was like, "Ooh, are people going to resonate with this?" Because you love it, and then you start to get concerned, like, "Oh, I don't know if this is going to resonate." But let me tell you, I just spoke at an event about 2 weeks ago to about 200 women, and the feedback that I received is beautiful because some people are left brain, that is the more logical brain, and some people operate more in their right brain, their creativity, brain, and so I was able to touch both people and the feedback, so I could tell that it resonated because the ladies were saying, I knew there was something to that, and I was speaking about the differences, the physiological differences of the male and female brain, and so they were like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful because it was concrete.
Yes.
It was real.
Yes.
And then, it wasn't just kind of that in the clouds a little bit, for lack of a better term.
Or researchy that's all you were that people couldn't relate to because you bring it right down home and it's like real. I understand what it is you're talking about, It makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And that's very important. And, I am just, it's beautiful because I get to operate in who I am. I am a woman who enjoys life. I have fun. So I bring fun to my presentations too. And I really see the understanding. I see the light bulbs while I'm talking. I see people like, oh my gosh, I have a question. And I'm like, okay, hold on. We're going to do questions at the end, so just write it down. So it's really phenomenal to answer your question, Dr. G, that it is resonating and it's translating, and I just say, I think my past, my journey, because I have insight into it. I know how to bring it down to this level that the masses can understand so that they can incorporate that and step into more of who they are. Yes.
Well, Alycia, this, I started this podcast because I've, this whole body of work called leadership, both in what's in the books and what's in the trenches. I mean, how you carry it out every day, how you read, how you learn about it, and oftentimes, it has to do with influence, and so I had seen so many people who were unleashing their influence, doing things to have an impact on others. And so I've always been fascinated by the conversations and topic of leadership and who leaders are, that whole word leader.
Yes.
And so what does that mean to you? What does that word leader mean to you?
I love that. I actually have an acronym that I created for the word leader.
All right, let's hear it.
Yes, and I'm going to tell it to you, and I'm going to give it to you quickly. So L is for listening. Leaders must listen. Listen to understand, not to respond. And a lot of times we've heard that, but some people do not internalize that and understand that statement. You have to be willing to listen.
Okay.
And so the E is for empathy. As a leader, you must have empathy for people who you're leading, and you have to have an understanding. And the A is for action. You've got to be a person of action. You cannot just sit there in the problem or sit there in the what, shoulda, coulda, woulda. You've got to get into action. And the D is for discernment. As a leader, you must be discerning. And it doesn't mean you're going to always choose the right thing, but I'm going to tell you, with your discernment muscle being practiced, you're going to do pretty well. So discernment is necessary. And the E is for energy. You have got to be energetic as a leader. If you're lethargic, your people are going to be looking at you like, why do I even want to follow you? This is ridiculous. You have no energy. You're not offering me, what I need to be successful as well and to buy into the mission, to the vision, to what we're doing here. And the last one, the R, is reciprocity. Many leaders expect people to do something for them, but they're not willing to reciprocate, whether it be just time with their employees or with a partnership or their subcontractor. You've got to have a reciprocal relationship where it is a give and take for both people, whatever that looks like. And those values, those qualities are what I see representing a good leader, and that I understood that I did extremely well when I had 30 employees under me and about 20 subcontractors. So I understand that those things, those actions, those characteristics, I exuded those extremely well, which allowed us to get to a multi-million-dollar business and eventually sell that business. So, yes, being a leader is a verb, and it is something that is constant, and it is not for everybody.
Now, that's interesting. It's not for everybody. Say a little more.
Some people believe leadership is totalitarianism, and that a leadership is not barking. It is not, giving orders and expecting people to fall in line. And some people, we even see it today in many walks of life, in government, in community, where people are thinking that this particular, quote, title allows them the opportunity to say something and people are to jump. That is not what a leader is. A leader is within, without, above, under. You are willing to do any role, to do what it takes to support not only yourself, but your people and the vision. So sometimes there would be things that I would do that, quote, people would say, oh, you're the CEO of the company. Why are you doing that? Because I believe in the mission. So if my people need help folding some envelopes or folding some papers to put in envelopes. Oh, honey, bring those on in here. I'll just bring what you need. You go do something else that can be efficient for moving the vision forward, for moving the mission forward. I can do this.
Yes.
And that's what some people don't understand as leaders. They want to garner a paycheck. They think that a title means something.
It's all about, position or title. Yes.
Yes. And I learned that very early on, and I'm so grateful to my parents for that, that I learned that being a leader is being a part of, not being separated from.
Yes. So your career is just, and it's really your new season, your second career. This is just phenomenal. So, and you're doing so much. So how do you keep balance? You gave us in the beginning two of my favorite tips about sleep and meditation, because it's so important, I know, to rest that brain. What else do you do? Our listeners are always interested in how do you maintain balance in life? What do you do?
Yeah.
So what are some of your secrets?
So some of my secrets, and I'd say, really, it's like, how do you maintain harmony? Because there are going to be times that, you do have to grind a little bit. There could be a project, so you may have to grind a little bit. And so something may give a little more in the work. You may have to do a little more in the workspace. But like today, this afternoon, I have one of my girlfriends coming to San Diego, and we're going to get massages. So
yes.
I plan for those things. So I put them on the calendar. And so I let my family know. Everyone is clear. Okay, so Saturday, we are going to have massages today. And so I actually schedule that, Dr. G. I actually make sure I work out. So what I was experiencing, I was working too much, and I could feel my body starting to go a different way. I could feel the fog in my brain. It was not as clear. So I was like, okay, I've recommitted to myself to get this booty going again in the gym more regularly, not haphazardly, regularly, because once again, as I said in the beginning, that increases oxygen flow to the brain.
Yes.
So that is going to release new creativity, new ideas, and it's going to expand my brain. So I feel refreshed and rejuvenated and vitality. So exercise is so crucial, to the brain and to hormone release in the body as well, especially us as women. Let's not talk about the hormones. So exercising is crucial. And as I said, you said before, prayer and meditation, but you know what else I do? I read. I read.
Okay.
So I bring in new thoughts into my mind. You have to cultivate the mind. You have to cultivate, if you think about when we're planting a garden, you have to cultivate the soil. And so you've got to cultivate your brain soil so that new things can grow, and they can grow efficiently and powerfully. And you are putting different minerals. The minerals are the people that you connect with, the people that can actually contribute to the cultivation of what you're bringing forth. And so I believe in, as I said, reading or just bringing myself into new environments, not always operating where I'm, quote, comfortable, getting out of the norm. And what that does, honestly, too, in your brain is it creates new neural pathways. So new things are being built, new things are being created, new ideas are forming behind the scenes that you're unaware of. Like I said, in the soil, you plant something, you can't see what's happening under the soil until it sprouts.
Right.
But that's what's happening in your brain, new neural pathways. Yes.
I love it. I love new neural pathways. Okay,
yes,
so say that fast, 10 times. But new neural pathways. I think that's going to be. I'm going to be saying that to folk. New neural pathways.
Yes,
straight from Alycia Huston.
Yes,
but I love this perspective, this insight on leadership and influence, because I think more and more we need, particularly as women, and particularly for us to be more empowered, that we need to understand more and more how our bodies work, how they tick, how we can keep them healthy and strong, but always also how we can all cultivate leadership within ourselves, because that's what's going to influence and change the world. How we as women take on the mantle of leadership. So this perspective, I think, adds to very significantly the conversation about empowerment and female empowerment.
Yes,
and so I just be loving it.
Me too.
I love what you're doing. So we have plenty of ways, I think, that we should get together and also continue this conversation. I want to have you back. I just love connecting with you again. And I know our listeners have really gained some important insights from your conversations.
wonderful. Thank you for having me. It's been a delight. I love talking about this. If
Yes.
you can't tell.
Yes, we love it. But you know, that's important because passion, you know, that passion and purpose. Hey, you got that. So, you know, that's what makes the world turn. And so we're so delighted that you've been able to share with us how you're unleashing your influence and making a difference in your life and the life of others. Thank you so much, Alycia Huston. Join us again.
Yes.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay. Talk to you
say
soon.
the word.
Yes, thank you. Talk to you soon.
Definitely. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ignite to impact.